Hello there, Mad Mike here, and welcome back to the channel. Today we will be looking at some news that came out midway through last week, but it kind of it jogged my memory on some other things, and I wanted to discuss them. And it's mainly that the Akira film, which has been stuck in development hell for a number of years, appears to finally be moving forward with Thor Ragnarok director Taika Waititi at the helm. And it's being set for a 2021 release date, with filming starting this year. Now, uh, just to give a little bit of backstory, the Akira film was very close to being made in 2011, with numerous famous actors attached to it. I believe Keira Knightley was attached at one point, Garrett Hedlund, Michael Fassbender. You know, a bunch of people were rumored to be attached to this movie at the time, but it wound up entering development hell, and it hasn't really resurfaced until very, very recently. But apparently it has been greenlit, it is moving forward. I think this may also be a reaction to Alita Battle Angel, which did very well. Now, I'm concerned about a few things with this movie moving forward just as is, and I'm going to compare it to Alita Battle Angel and kind of explain why I think that film succeeded as opposed to why I think the Akira film will not. And I want to go over a few things. So, first of all, Alita Battle Angel. There was not a ton. There was not a huge fan base around Alita Battle Angel. It was kind of like a miscellaneous. It was more of it was a niche thing. Like, if you knew anime, if you were into anime, you pretty much knew it. It wasn't something like Dragon Ball where everybody knows about it. Even casual people that don't really watch anime, they know what Dragon Ball is. Very few people knew what Alita Battle Angel was, and it was kind of an older anime and manga when I think it was early to mid '90s. So then they make it into a movie. But here's the thing: is that a lot of people probably didn't know it was based off of an anime and a manga. They probably just thought, oh, this is some property. It was a book or something like that. A lot of people, the average moviegoer, probably just went into it thinking like, oh, okay, it's a weird little action movie, that weird little science fiction action movie about an android. That's cool. So I don't think there was any really that much fan attachment to this thing. Now, that's not to say that they didn't do the character right or do anything like that. I'm not familiar with the material personally, so I can't judge it based on that. But just from the knowledge of the material, the general knowledge to the public of the material, I would say that a lot of people went into this thing very, very fresh. And on top of that, you had a lot of really famous people attached to this. You had James Cameron, who was the one that was touted. You had Robert Rodriguez, who was the director, who a lot of people know from his grindhouse type films like Machete and Sin City. And then you go into the other stuff. You had Christoph Waltz in this. I can't remember the guy's name. He was in Green Book this past year. I can't remember his name for some reason. I believe he was also in The Wire. You had other actors like Jennifer Connelly, and you had a rounded out cast. You had rounded out actors. Mostly, though, I think it was James Cameron attached to this project very, very well, where he produced it and wrote it. Where I think that gained a lot of steam with people. But I think a lot of people went into that not really knowing anything about the background of the manga and the anime. Whereas you have something with Akira that a lot of people know. Now, it's not as well, again, it's not as well known as some stuff that today. It's not as well known as Dragon Ball or some of the more mainstream stuff that's popular right now. But people know what Akira is. A lot more people know what Akira is as opposed to what Alita Battle Angel is. Now, I think that's a hit in general because a lot of people that really like anime are not going to flock to this thing. I think that's why it's been stuck in development hell for as long as it has, is because Hollywood has not had real faith in anime movies. And again, Alita is kind of the first one that's broken the mold. And I went over this in my Will It Fail video for it. I did not think it was going to do that well simply because it was based on an anime. And I kind of underestimated, James Cameron's influence on it. So there was a lot of stuff that was going into that a lot of people didn't necessarily know about in terms of the story elements and stuff they were pulling from the manga and the anime. But again, with Akira, you run into something where a lot of people have been exposed to it, and those people are they like the idea. And there are also people that really love the manga and really love the anime film, because again, this wasn't like a long running anime. It wasn't like Alita where it was an episodic anime. This was just a film, which really only very loosely covered the first half of the manga, and then the rest of the manga was really kind of left. And there's a lot of differences actually between the two. So there are some people that absolutely hate the movie and love the manga, and there are some people that love the movie and couldn't give less of a shit about the manga. So there's a lot of there's a lot of moving parts there, and I think another problem is kind of the director's chair. Now, Robert Rodriguez is really good at directing action. He's extremely good at it. And you've given him a script by James Cameron. So it's very hard to fuck that up. But if you're looking at Taika Waititi, now look, I enjoyed Thor Ragnarok. I think Taika Waititi is good with comedy, but Akira is not comedy. Akira is sci-fi actiony stuff. It's kind of like a Blade Runner in terms of kind of that dark tone. It doesn't follow the noir elements really, but in terms of like that dark kind of like neo, like futuristic type of tone, that's a lot of what we see. Um, and the other problem I kind of have with it is that I don't necessarily know what Taika Waititi is going to do with it. Now, could he do a really good job? I think it's definitely possible, and I think again he's somebody that really knows how to do action. But if he turns it into a joke a minute like what he did with Thor Ragnarok, I don't think it's going to work for people, especially people that are very married to the idea of the anime film or the manga. Because again, it's a very dark and messed up and gory story. The other problem that I kind of have with this is that I'm worried they're going to try and sanitize this a bit more than what they should, because Akira is a it's a hard edged type of story. It's not very kid. Let's just put it this way: it's not essentially kid friendly. It's meant for an adult reading audience, and the film is as well. And you can see it with the blood and the gore and the sexual things and stuff like that. It's not something that you could, if you sanitize it down to PG-13 and cram it full of jokes, it's not Akira anymore. It's another Disney vehicle. And look, like I said, I can live with that with Thor because I thought the jokes landed very well and Chris Hemsworth has an affinity for comedy. But I don't think you can do it with Akira and do justice to the story, because the story is relatively serious. It doesn't delve too much into comedy. There's a few portions of it that kind of go into comedy, but for the most part, it doesn't. It stays very serious almost the whole time. And it's more of a spectacle type of thing where you get to see all these telekinetic powers in action and stuff like that. So this thing moving forward, I feel like is going to have a lot of problems, and I think Hollywood, now that Alita has done well and they've found an anime film that they were able to adequately transfer from the anime slash manga into a film, they're going to start doing it more, and you're going to see a lot more of these projects that were quote unquote in development hell getting greenlit, and that could be a problem moving forward, because what works for one does not work for another. I think Alita was more of a special case, because when you try to do it with well-known stuff, and we've seen it before, it really doesn't work. We've seen it with Ghost in the Shell. I hate bringing up Dragon Ball Evolution because it was essentially a cash grab, but Dragon Ball Evolution was a bad one. And there's been a plethora of other ones that Netflix have put out lately with like Mob Psycho 100 and Bleach and a bunch of other crap. So here's my, and again, I'm not judging this movie right now because nothing has even been made. But right now, what they're moving forward with, there are concerns that should be taken into account, and I think those are the main concerns. Is that you have a director who might not be able to capture the tone correctly. You have a well-known property with a fan base that probably isn't going to like the fact you're making a live-action film out of it, and you have a and you think you have a formula now because of Alita, and you may not. So again, this is very concerning moving forward in terms of the development of this film. We will see. Again, nobody's really been cast yet in this movie, or not officially anyway. Again, a lot of names were floated around in the past, but none recently. So we'll see where that leads. But this will be interesting moving forward, to say the least. And I hope we do not have another bomb on our hands, like another Ghost in the Shell, or something along those lines, where they dump 150 million into something and it makes 160. But we'll see moving forward. So, I'd like to know what you think. Put in the comments if you're excited for a live action Akira, if you think this is a bad idea, if you think that, if you liked Alita and you want to see more anime stuff adapted in that way. Again, put it in the comments. Hit the like button, hit the bell for notifications, subscribe, and remember, I live my life free of compromise. Do you?